Any man that's been in a relationship with a woman that may not be particularly energetically balanced, you may love this woman, right? You may really want to do the right thing. You don't want to step out all this other stuff, right? But it hits a point where we kind of hit a wall. A lot of times we hit a particular wall where we still got love, but that energy, that excitement, that motivation we had initially kind of fades away. And ladies, you recognize this as he don't do the same things he used to do. He don't come through with the flowers. He don't check on you like he used to. The body is so intelligent that it knows that man is wasting too much energy, that it starts to send chemicals into the system where that man will even start to a certain subconscious level, resent the person, the woman that he's giving most. And he don't know what's going on. To him, it's just like, I don't feel the same, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I want to mess with these other ones a little more than I did in the first 6 months. Right. But the body is protecting itself because it knows it's bleeding too much out. This is also was part of what was eating away at my kidney.
Yeah. TK. Jersey. I've been on the grind, man, all it took was patience. That money on my mind, man, all I see is hating. He jocking on the low, man, you know the kid is wavy. Like how you mad at me when you know you're fucking lazy. Should've changed. What's up, everybody? It is your girl, Health is Key, and you are tuned into the Health and Hip Hop Podcast Show with my co-host,
Composer Rel.
Yeah, you already know, as always, we have an excellent, just awesome guest. If you didn't know, this show is for unsigned artists, established artists, and just overall dope people who just want to elevate their life, whether it be through diet, exercise, your thought process, your finances. And we have a special guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but mentor, meditation guru, counselor,
Keep going.
Melanated man.
Yeah.
Look, man, it's your boy,
What's up, man?
the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend. That's what they say right now.
Yes, sir.
It's Diggla. Docs, for those who may not know, started as Paradox, now mostly known as Brick City Buddha. Like the goddess was saying, like my sister was saying, meditation teacher, counselor, life coach, activist, MC, poet, father, friend, brother. Real nigga out here in these streets. Yeah. Right? We just keep it a buck. Keep it a buck.
So, I feel like people could identify more with you before we get into the big juicy stuff.
Yeah, no doubt.
But people can identify more with you just by the artist you like.
Right.
So my first question is just real simple because it's a lot. This brother is deep. So we gonna start on light.
Okay.
Who's your favorite hip hop artist and why?
It's like changed over the years. So like early on when I first got into hip hop, shout out to my big brother Stress. He's actually the person that let me know that I could rap. Like I said, I was doing poetry initially, and I had actually did a poem at a friend of mine's wedding, and he kind of killed it. It's like 200 people in there, destroyed it. He pulled me to the side afterwards. He was already like a legendary rapper in East Orange. And he was like, yo, the way you put your words together with poetry, I feel like you could make a song at least. You could give it a shot. He taught me how to count bars. He made my first beat. So he was like actually the person, him and my sister, that even opened me up to hip hop. I come from a Christian household, so my parents wasn't really big on doggy style, getting blasted in the crib and all of that. You know what I mean? I remember they found the cover like, yo, what is this? So my sister would be blasting it when they wasn't home and Stress would come through. And he would put me up on Rakim. He would put me up on Guru and all these people. And he would, you know what I mean, like I said, show me how to count bars, made my first beat. So initially it was Rakim. When I started to get into my own Common, like for a good 5-6 year run, from probably around One Day It'll All Make Sense, for like the next 5 years, Common was my guy. And then when I really discovered like, yo, Nas is the greatest person to ever put pen to paper.
Nas is like.
It became Nas, and it's coupled. At this point, I would still say Nas and Pac is like 1 and 1A for me. Like Pac represents the heart, Nas represents the mind. So I can't even differentiate. So Pac and Nas is my 1 and 1A. Yeah, as far as artists.
Is that a specific reason to why? it is right now?
Well, like with Nas, even as dope as he is as a lyricist,
Right.
I've never experienced anybody in hip hop be able to paint a picture like Nas. Like you're not just gonna listen to a Nas song. If you're actually listening, he's gonna literally teleport you.
Right.
He's gonna transport you to that thought or to that moment that he's talking about. So I did my best to incorporate that aspect. And then Pac ain't gotta use 100 words.
Nah.
He can say 5 little words and it just hits you so hard in your chest and your spirit that it's gonna stay with you for the rest of your life. So that kind of represents the balance for me, like the yin and yang of hip hop to me with just those 2 artists.
I've never heard it done or explained in that type of way, because you always hear somebody say, "Oh, I have one artist,"
Right.
But to explain in your duality
Right.
and how you are as a person, as a man right now,
Right.
that's a different type of answer.
Exactly.
So with Pac being your favorite, what's your favorite artist? I mean, not artist. What's your favorite song of Pac?
My favorite song from Pac is probably Ambitions as a Rider. And like he got so many like and on some real like the more heartfelt joints have probably stayed with me longer. Like they still just float around my consciousness sometimes. I find myself singing them. But that, bro, when that rider come on, like it just do something to me. Like, and every time it take me back to the first moment I heard it. And for me, like that's one of the signs of a great artist. If 10 years go by and you haven't played their music, but it takes you back to that moment, that part of your life you was at,
Right.
Ambitions as a Rider does that for me every time.
Wow.
Wow, that's fire. Wow. So speaking of the yin and the yang, as far as meditation, because you do a plethora of things, but meditation is definitely something that I see on your Instagram, and I know you personally from just doing sessions with you.
Right.
And what is the importance of that? What is actual meditation, and why is it important, especially to like the Black community?
All right, so the best way I could say it, I always use the analogy of we kind of go our whole lives living inside our car, like living out of our car. And what I mean by that is we identify ourselves by 3 streams that's constantly changing: your thoughts, your experiences, and your emotions. Okay. And I say that's docs, right? Also, the bag that we carry, I always reference Erykah Badu, Bag Lady. When we talk about our life, facts. When we talk about our life is only ever what's happening in this moment. So right now, these cameras is on, we having this conversation. The rest of the world don't exist to us right now.
Wow.
As soon as this conversation is over, the next wave will come up as our reality. But what we do is we collect this bag of previous memories, future projections, and we say, this is me. This is my life. So meditation is a mechanism to start to let that bag down, for you to start to realize I'm not just this mind. I'm not just this body. I'm not just the person I've created. Because even the word person, the etymology of it means character.
Okay.
The world is but a stage. So when you go to sleep, that character gets turned off. And you kind of drift into a deeper layer of your consciousness. And that's the part we don't really pay attention to. And meditation is the open door to discovering or rediscovering what you truly are beyond docs. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Man, so as far as that goes with meditation, I know you're definitely doing that in the community. How does that affect like children too? Is there a difference that you see? Because I know you go to the schools and you meditate with the children in the schools. I'm not sure if you're doing it with just certain kids or.
Oh no, we do kids like
okay, got it. Yeah, can you explain that or elaborate on that and how it affects children too?
Yeah, it's dope. I was doing a summer school program with the Ironbound section last summer. Okay. And mind you, this was my first time working with kids this young. First graders.
Wow.
50 of them run into the room, right? And I'm at the point now where I know whatever I need in the moment, as long as I honor what I truly am, which is not just docs, whatever is necessary is gonna come to the surface. So I wasn't worried or scared or nothing like that, but it's like, 50 kids coming running around. It's like, all right, how is this about to happen?
Right.
And I was able to keep them engaged to the point that teachers was coming in because they had never seen this group of kids settle down.
Wow.
And by the end of the class, we did an imagination session. And I always talk to people about being able to create dope stuff like this. It all starts with the thought. Right. Nothing has ever been created without that. So when you split apart the word imagination, you got I, right in the middle you got magi, at the end you got nation, right? So the I, of course, is yourself. Magi means magic or magician. Okay. So it's magic in just allowing your consciousness to go to something that's not in physical reality yet. Deep. And then the nation is the us, the world, infusing it into the world.
Okay. Wow.
So we did an imagination session. I had everybody go around and say one thing that they wanted, right? One toy, one gift. They want pizza, $1 million, video game.
Right.
And we doing it, and like their eyes is closed, and some of them is to the point where like they wanted like a little race. They going in. The next day they came in, like half the room said, yo, my mom or my dad bought me exactly what I was imagining. The very next day they was able to see the efficacy of just allowing your consciousness to focus on one thing. So yeah, it's been beautiful working with the kids in Newark, man.
Wow.
Absolutely.
So with you meditating, I heard that you said that, you know, when we're in this particular moment right now, everything around us don't matter at all. So over the years, have meditation allowed you to build up that skill to like shut everything out? Because usually people say like, that's a little challenging for me to shut everything out. So did meditation allow you to build up that skill?
Yes, as a trainer, right, I always tell people, you can't expect to go into your mind and throw up 1,000 pounds. And that's part of what like blocks people from feeling like they can meditate, because within that first few minutes, thought is saying, yo, you can't do this. Right? But you know when you walk into with your trainer, you walk into the gym, it's gonna be a few months before I feel like I'm getting it.
Right.
You have that patience with yourself. So what it really is not about stopping or blocking the mind. It's about understanding that you have the power of choosing what thought you're going to entertain. And right now, of course, we doing this, the thought is already chosen for us. We got to be engaged right now. But when you have the propensity to pick whatever you want, thoughts are coming 55 to 75 per minute. So you just got to start to pay attention to the scrutiny of which one is most beneficial for me right now. You choose that, and then everything else has to fade. And it'll pop back up again. You make the same choice, and eventually it just starts to wilt. And your mind starts to get quiet, not just in meditation, but just in life too.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to make this seem like this is like a perfect picture we trying to paint here. This guy, this was not, he was not, he was not who you see right now. So, and I want people to identify, you know, because they may be like, well, I'm not eating like he is, or I'm not eating like how they are, but we all weren't like that. And so for you, like, can you just give the people a visionary of who you were before, and you know how you got there, and who you are now?
It's interesting. People like it depends on which docs or where they meet me at that determines how they see me. But yeah, people that knew the old docs when I wasn't docs, when I was Frizz, I was still Frizzle and all these other. Yeah, I was Frizzle.
I'm about to call you that.
Yeah, remember? Nah, you good. Remember the Snoop Dogg video when he started saying like the Frizzle Dizzle and all of that stuff? At that time, I had little dusty braids. I always had like the hair on top of the braids because I would never get them done on some Meek Mill shit. No disrespect. So people just started calling me Jeff Frizzle, like Jeff is my government name or whatever. But yeah, like I never planned on being this. You know what I mean? I never thought about even meditating myself. I always say people learn through either inspiration or desperation.
Okay.
And me personally, my journey started when 23 years old, I got diagnosed with 17% kidney functionality. My kidney was failing. As a result of that, a few years later, I went blind in my left eye. 13-year relationship disintegrated. All my bros, who I thought was my homies, bounced. Family didn't live here. I was suicidal. I was depressed. So a dude I was actually in a music group with at a certain point, he had kind of took the path of meditation.
Okay.
And we had reconnected. He saw what I was going through in a 5-week online course. Simple techniques just revolutionized how I saw everything. And I was desperate enough to stay consistent, because you'll get a piece of information, it'll be fun, it'll be new, but eventually life just smacks you in the face and you kind of lose connection with it. I was too desperate for that because I was just trying to survive. I was trying to live and see again.
Right.
So it gave me that impetus to stay committed to it. And over time, like it just changed everything. 17%, they told me I could never improve. Went to 83%. Last time I was at the doctor, I know I'm good. 83 is just a number, but just goes to show you what they told me, the experts, was not the case. Vision came back. I was on disability at the time, no money, barely paying my bills. I got my own business now. Beautiful family, I got a son, so it's just, I got a whole community. So for me, it wasn't a matter of, oh, I want to be this figure in my community. Life kicked my ass. And I was ready to just gracefully bow out, but right at the last minute, source, God, however you perceive it, however you say it, said, nah, you got some work to do. And that's how we ended up here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did you have any like negative thought processing, you know, around that time? Going through all of that, you blind, you know,
bro.
kidney failure?
Like I was mad at God. I was mad at life. You know, I came up in a Christian household, and you know, I don't really follow how Christianity is taught.
Right.
I function in Christ consciousness, which we have spoken about before. But coming from that, you know, I was scared to think anything outside of Jesus and, you know, God dictating my life. So at that point, like, I called myself Mr. Murphy's Law. You know, anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Okay.
So I literally felt like I was Mr. Murphy's Law. Everything that could possibly go wrong did for me for a long period of my life. I had also got fired from 5 straight jobs. You know what I mean?
5 straight
Five
jobs?
straight.
Like I went to this job, then I went to this job.
And mind you,
all of them,
it
they
wasn't
got
just
fired.
like rinky-dink jobs. I would get fired from a particular industry, go get another skill set,
Okay.
go to school, get another, and I mean, get fired from that. And it wasn't for nothing I was doing. I was an intelligent black man in corporate America. We can be threats when we sharp. So that kept happening to me.
Wow.
So I got to the point where I was just mad at God. I couldn't pray. I couldn't even like give any energy to what I used to believe was like kind of God in my life, which still was. I just, you know, had to shift my perspective. So yeah, I was addicted to weed, you know what I'm saying, smoking all day, every day, still drinking a lot, chasing women, like using that as a crutch to like kind of get through what I was going through. But like I said, I was depressed, like, and I was just ready to check out. So the negativity was actually what I needed though. It was the fuel. I always say rock bottom is like our foundation to build the next version of ourselves.
Right.
So yeah, all that negativity turned into what you see now. Yeah.
Wow. So with the negativity, because like you said you needed that negativity, right? I'm sure a lot of us feel like we're going through and are, not just feel, and are going through these tough type of times and these negative type of times, whether it's loss of a family member or a loss of a job or just something that just sporadically pops up. What were some of the things that you did or that you know, or methods that you know of how to get yourself to see a different perspective from negative to, and how to use that to become that better person or that new person? Is there a way that we could do that? Or
Yeah, absolutely. Just not gluing yourself to any particular moment. Like my initiator, shout out to Honors Yoga. That was the person who did the 5-week online course with me. Dope artist too.
Oh, I know you talking.
Yeah.
Oh, she does music too?
Nah, he.
He.
That's how we met. We was in a group together.
Oh, you talking about back.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
we had deals on the table and everything. And he left the group then. But he always used to say, ride the wave. Right? So
That's B stuff.
if you understand that, okay,
That's B, shout out to
right now, this moment, as real as it seems, right? Y'all at home on your couch, as real as this moment seems, when it's done, it's going to be like dreamlike. It's going to feel like not solid, not real, just a memory, right? And even though it's still a little solidity to the memory, it's not here now, right? So I started to learn through presence, through creating distance from my thoughts and my mind, and not just attaching to everyone. Because even as a trainer, right, I always pose this question, and I'm going to pose it to y'all. See if you could tell me the difference between these two statements. I'm hungry, I'm experiencing hunger. And you fasting right now, so what's the difference between I'm hungry, I'm experiencing hunger?
Dang.
In the whole sense of just food or just anything?
Just the experience of I'm hungry or I'm experiencing hunger. And I know we on the time, so
Yeah,
I'll give y'all a few seconds.
I don't even.
I got them thinking. All right, so I got y'all. Y'all probably thinking at home too, right? So I'm hungry. You're identifying with the wave. You're claiming the wave as yourself. And when I realized I needed to start eating less, like I was 40 pounds heavy and all this different stuff, this is part of what was eating away at my kidney. I had to go initially from 3 meals to at least 2. I had to just start with that.
Okay.
And, I would eat my 3 meals, snacks in between, dessert at night. So I remember the first day, that few hours span in which I would have had a meal, I felt like I was about to die. Felt like I was starving, right? I wasn't really starving, but I had been meditating, so I had distance from the wave of, okay, I'm hungry, it's coming right now. I'm not going to identify it as that. And I would realize 2 or 3 hours would go by. And I forgot that I was just feeling like I was about to faint. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So attaching yourself to the wave that's going to come and go anyway, no matter how pleasurable or painful it may be, it kind of takes the juice away from it for you to say, this is what I'm identifying by, right? And you can allow it to come and go. So whether it's negative or the positive too, it's this whole positive thinking craze right now, and that will eventually cause suffering too. Any piece of the wave you try to hold on to is meant to come and go. It's going to cause suffering. So once I realized that, of course, meditation, lifting the weights of your mind to be able to have that distance, to allow things to come and go. But that's what just revolutionized everything for me.
Wow.
So that would be, so the I'm hungry is me.
I'm hungry is the claiming, the
I'm
identification.
claiming. Okay.
I'm experiencing hunger is the witnessing of the wave come and go.
So instead of me saying I'm hungry, I should start saying I'm experiencing.
Yeah, and you don't even have to say it out loud, but just that approach,
Right.
just that perception, and not just with hunger, I'm broke. All these different things that we are identifying by.
Wow.
I remember when I was coming off a disability, I had drove up to get some money out the bank. I wanted to get some food, right? And I was barely having enough money to pay my bills at that time. And I saw $77 in my account. Like I had paid the bills, I had just enough money from this. 77, right? God numbers right there. But I realized in that moment, being that I was meditating more, that my value was attached to these two numbers. That somebody told me meant this particular thing. So in that moment, while I'm in line, I was able to detach my value from those numbers. I stopped claiming myself as broke or I don't got no money. And just that started to open up the portals of energy I needed for resources like y'all to come into my life, my community, the yoga space I now have. It just started organically coming into my being because I wasn't holding on to this tight, concise, I'm broke.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
So someone that is experiencing that right now, like I'm broke. What's a just quick, simple way that they could just snatch themselves out of it?
A mantra. And whatever mantra will work for you. And mantras don't always got to be fancy. I use this analogy. Two of the clients I'm working with right now are quote unquote homeless, right? In between housing.
Quote unquote homeless.
Right?
In between
housing,
like
right?
That.
So
like
in the set,
between housing.
right? And in the session, I was able to say I was walking past a homeless dude one day, going to meet somebody, and he's sleeping in a gazebo in South Orange. He's laid out, right? And initially, I was about to go give him something, but I realized he was asleep. When I say I have never seen, outside of babies, a human being sleep that peacefully, and I'm just thinking in that moment, like, why wouldn't he be at peace right now? He ain't worried about no bills. He ain't worried about no mortgage. He ain't worried about showing up to. He was just like, yo, the most. So I was able to tell the two clients, like, you can say that you homeless or you can say that you flowing. You can say that you floating right now. And you're not necessarily, you don't have the responsibility of being attached to a particular place. You allowed to float. So you can claim homeless and the suffering that comes with that, or you could claim the adventure and experimentation of just floating through life right now. Shift the perspective. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so with that whole usage of words, right? When it comes to hip hop, right? A lot of our artists use a lot of language that is like, okay, so right now we just experienced, R.I.P. Vaughn, but
R.I.P.
artists,
to the young guy.
yeah,
Facts.
like Pop Smoke, R.I.P. Even Biggie, even Pop, and a lot of their lyrics were, Biggie album, Life After Death, and
Ready to Die.
Ready to
Exactly.
Die, just and just these words that are like, I don't want to even call them negative because it's like a lot of the times in the communities that we're placed in, I don't like calling them our communities because they usually
We don't really own them, right?
And we live in we're placed there, So a lot of the times that's just how we're quote unquote surviving, because of the crime rates and certain things going on, and so we put that in our music. Is there a way that, like, can you say that as far as, like you said, with the manifesting and usage of words, can us using like negative words and talking like that, can that bring certain energies or certain experiences to us, like by just saying things that are same thing, like life after death, or just always talking about shooting, killing? Do those things affect us too, even if we're just rapping or not even really meaning it, we're just performing it in the studio?
Absolutely.
Does that
Absolutely.
play a major role in our lives?
Absolutely. So the word spelling. Right?
Spelling.
The base root of the word spelling is spells. So anytime you use language, you're casting a particular spell, right? And when you go into meditation, everybody pretty much has heard the chant or the mantra Om, like Om, right? Everybody heard that. Really what that is the first sound that cracked out of consciousness itself, right? And when you talk about consciousness and awareness, God, right? That doesn't know the term God.
Wow.
Right? In that deepest layer of yourself, there is no experience. There is no conversation. There is nothing to be seen, felt. There is just pure, unadulterated energy. that begins to take different forms. So the first way it took a form was that first crack of it being aware of itself, which went out into the perceivable universe as Om. Science knows this as the Big Bang,
Gotcha.
right? So sound created everything. And think about it, once the thought is in your head, the only way it's going, you had to have conversations to have this moment happen, to have this dope ass show, right? So it really comes down to a matter, once you scrutinize the thought and understand which ones are beneficial for me and which one are not, your language will begin to shift around that. And it will tailor itself to the exact type of spelling you need to create the particular universe you're looking to create. Because we share the same planet.
Right.
We got 8 billion different universes. This is why people don't see eye to eye and argue about what it is I see as opposed to what you see. You looking from a different perspective, from a different lens. But yeah, we definitely, especially as hip hop artists, we got to just start to be more aware of the frequencies we put into our spelling. And I understand it's a time and place for everything. I'm not saying everything got to be quote unquote conscious or backpack. Like on some real, I can't even appreciate a lot of conscious hip hop because it's boring to me.
Yeah,
like,
I know,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
So that's why I'm proud of, the project I just put out, because it's like the middle ground. But we still got to be able to say something, like at least every now and then, and understand that these frequencies we putting into the music, that teenager that's on the block with those pressures that you talking about, that ain't got a $1 million mansion or a machine around them to protect them from understanding this is just music, that's getting downloaded into their psyche and they playing that out in their lives. So we just got to be aware of that, man. Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, as far as your music, right?
Yeah.
I know you have an album that you just dropped called There Is No Spoon.
Yes.
Right? That album, whoa.
Yeah. Shout out to my label, Mantle Music and all of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's your label?
Yeah, that's my label.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I know you sent me that link. I didn't know that was your label. Wow. Okay, so we got a record label.
Yeah, record label owner, mogul owner. I be forgetting, bro. Like, I be forgetting.
What do you want people to get out of that album?
Okay. So low key, being that it's like kind of inspired, well, very much so inspired by the Matrix, it's coded on many levels, right? So when you're listening to some of these songs, and mind you, some of them is, go super deep. Some of them seem a little more lit and wavy, but underneath everything is a particular code and something I'm conveying in the lyrics and the instrumentation and the production. And then overall, I'll give you a clue into the code of the whole album. It's really the story of ascension. And people who know me now, like I was doing an interview, shout out to Sienna, DJ Sienna.
Oh, yeah,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, facts. But I was on her show and she was saying like, yo, I love the album, but there were certain pieces of it that didn't feel like the docs I know. And mind you, most of this music was created 4 to 5 years ago.
Wow.
The oldest song on the album alone, I think, is 8 years old. So it's not really indicative of where I'm at right now, but I felt like it was important to put that interval of my life out, because people can't just jump to quote unquote where I'm at right now. They got to understand, like you said, the relatable process of step by step, still dealing with the same shit, quote unquote, y'all dealing with. Can I curse on here?
Yeah.
We lit. The same shit y'all dealing with, right? I needed to be able to express that. So if you notice, starting out from the album, it's like I talk about black face, blank stare, bloodshot, mugshot, murder still in my eyes and whatnot. Funk Doc, Redman. Funk Doc taught me there's a dark side, a subtle warning for a youngin' that would eventually end up comfy on it. I'm talking about the darkness. And by the time you get your way through the album, you start to hear the meditation and the things of that nature that, help me to level up. So the overall overlapping code is just my story of ascension that I feel like can spill into people's consciousness and help them with their journey too. Yeah.
So what about the title? Where did the title, come from?
Yeah, so There Is No Spoon. I'm pretty sure, it's crazy because Matrix 4 about to finally come out next year.
I think I did hear
So even the time frame of this, we're doing our best to try to get some licensing on the movie or whatever. But
Let's go, Docs.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, that'd be fire.
Yeah, it's going to be fire.
Let's go, Docs.
That's gonna be fire.
Facts.
That's gonna be fire.
Yeah, but in the first Matrix, Neo, I'm like the black Neo of the album. He goes to meet the Oracle, of course, actually a black woman in the movie. And he's in the room with all the potential, the ones.
Okay.
And this little kid is sitting there bending the spoon with his mind. And Neo goes to try to do it, and the kid tells him the only way you could bend a spoon is to realize the physical expression of that is not what this energy actually is in essence. If you just focus on the energy of it, then you'll be able to bend the spoon. And the spoon represents whatever your personal limitation may be in your life that you've concocted, wrapped yourself around, claimed, identified with. As soon as you realize it's just a wave and it can come and go, then you can bend literally any spoon that you got in front of you. So there is no spoon.
So, right, with you being just who you are, obviously your whole life, but as far as just when it comes to music, right, and now you're like this meditation guru, fast, mostly raw, and before, you know, what were you eating before? What was your diet before?
Before I leveled up?
Yeah, before you leveled up.
Leveled up.
I was a kill breast. I was a kill breast head.
Yo,
I used to love
kill breast.
I used to love kill breast after the club.
Chicken Shack.
McDonald's pizza, all this bullshit. You know. Same thing y'all probably eating right now. I was on the wave.
So yes, okay, good. I just want people to always relate because you know I think sometimes when people meet us at this level. Like they
look at us like, oh my God, like
and it's we literally ate all of that stuff, like and understand the taste of it, understand you can still think of the frequency of it and feel it. So my thing is as far as an artist, how you are now or how you were before, right? When it comes to like going into environments, because obviously you're doing your music and it's going to be in conscious environments, and it's going to be especially because your music is to reach the level of people who haven't reached that consciousness yet of themselves. And so is there a way, like, is there certain ways you prepare for that to keep yourself like in a zone where you go into these environments where it's like liquor and you know
smoking,
drugs, heavy drugs? Yeah, because you know before I wasn't personally paying no attention because I participated in that stuff, but now I notice that since I don't drink anymore, I don't judge anybody. I still can have fun, but sometimes it's a little too much. It's a little too much sometimes because I'm outside of that realm. But as far as for you, you still need to do your networking. You still need to go around and perform and meet other people and talk. So is there a certain thing that you or way that you do before you like to prep yourself to go in these type of environments, or does it even matter?
You stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. We've all heard this, right? It's to the point now like I'm so committed to the discipline. Even beyond commitment, I'm in love with the discipline, right? And it's the difference between somebody being committed and in love with discipline because commitment can come and go. When you're in love with it, even if it don't feel good, I don't want to meditate every time I go to meditate. Sometimes I'm in meditation, mine is like, yo, you could be doing all this other, and part of me wants to go do that. But at this point, I understand that all of these things that I may want to go engage are gonna come and go. And even right now, shout out to my big bro that is the executive producer of my album. I didn't even realize that album existed in the framework of music I had in that era until I came to his house one day. He's like, yo, I see it. I see the sequence of your album. He's a whole street nigga out here. Like, you know, he's leveled up too, but he was one of them ones. Shout out to my big bro, Banger. They be in there high as hell, like, you know what I mean? And then sometimes I may even partake, but for the most part, like, it doesn't bother me to the degree anymore because I've rewired my consciousness. You know what I mean? So those things that I couldn't have been around before, I'm around beautiful women all the time. You smell me? Like, I'm still a young, handsome brother out here in these streets to a certain, I could be taking so much advantage of so many different things and nobody would know but me and God. I have no desire for it because I've genuinely done this shit. It's not for the gram, it's not for Facebook, it's not for the cameras, this is some real shit. You know what I mean? Because in those moments when I was on my bathroom towel, crying my eyes out, wanting to leave this place, nobody was there. Source was there. Wow. So I got a certain sense of loyalty and dedication that nothing can come before that. So I stay ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, all right. Speaking of family and women, right?
Yeah.
I know, right? When I first met him, right?
Yeah.
I met him at Blueberry Cafe. Shout out to Blueberry Cafe. Shout out.
Shout
out. Yeah.
Right, and that's like a vegan restaurant in Newark. You just could go in there for just a really, really tasty, healthy meal. You just always end up meeting awesome people, which is where I met him. But I know that like maybe the second or third visit, like we would see each other, but we would always have intense conversations. But I know that like the third or fourth one, which is crazy how we even got this deep, but I remember you were at that time being celibate, right? And I just remember you saying, I will never ever forget this because it was just so amazing to me. And you were like, yo, I've been celibate and I just really feel like my queen and my child is about to come right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm listening. I believe him. I'm like, yeah, that, but it really happened. Probably like a month or a month and a half, within 2 months. I saw you bringing in Loren. I gotta shout her out. Shout out to Loren.
Shout out to the goddess.
My sis there. I'm taking her out to eat hopefully after this today. Hey.
Today your birthday?
Nah, it was the 4th, November 4th. Yeah.
So I told her I wanted to take her out. But yeah, and then little behold, you have Loren, and then you have...
Excuse me, the 3rd, my bad. I messed that up, the 3rd.
The 3rd. And then you have her, somebody. So can you please, take us down and even your thought to just become celibate? Why? And then that range of just the family life, because that's deep right there.
I suggest a free book to the listeners, to the audience. For the women, go on your Google right now and type in cultivating female sexual energy. You've heard me talk about this mad times. For the brothers, type in cultivating male sexual energy. You can download a free PDF right now, right? So in the one on the men, it's by Montauk Chia. There's a paragraph where he says the average man is going to ejaculate at least 5,000 times. And it's like, that's a lot. That's the average man, let alone you're a melanated being. You walking around these streets, you smell good, you look good, you funny. Triple that, right? You out here getting it, right?
It works.
Hey.
Smell good, look good.
Hey, one of those, you Gucci, right? You got some money, right?
Good.
Will Chamberlain said he had sex with 20,000 women, bro. So triple that. Every time a man ejaculates, between 200 and 500 million sperm is being released. Every one of those has the power to do what if it meets the egg?
Right. It
has the atomic force to create a life. So initially, again, it wasn't a conscious decision to not bust no nuts, right?
Oh, you did it without. Oh yeah, did I bust no nuts? That's crazy.
And that's the thing too, because women would be like, "Well, I did 15." But you was flicking that bean, wasn't you, right? You was DJing it up, right? I'm talking about absolutely, hey, we're going to keep it a buck. Absolutely no nuts being bust for that year, right?
Wow.
And initially it wasn't a conscious decision. The relationship I was removing myself from, the 13-year relationship I was talking about. And shout out to Gwen. That's the person I was in a relationship with. We was extremely toxic for each other, but we learned a lot. Hindsight being 2020, that's my homie still to this day. But it was a period where that shit was breaking me. So she was the last person I was engaging with sexually at that point where I was learning about energy, not calling something through just because I felt like getting one off. So at that point, I realized I couldn't engage with her no more. She was dealing with the dude I took her from. How you take him, how you get him is how you lose him. She had went back with him. So it was like really fucking with me. It even got to the point, I just had this live last night where my mans wouldn't even show up for it no more.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I started to realize that energetic connection from my heart to my mans or whatever. So maybe about 3 or 4 months had went by where I just wasn't willing to engage with nobody in that way before the decision was made. And I went to a spiritual retreat, again, with Honors Yoga in Florida. And it was told to me that in the ancient times, in the mystery schools, the monks would have to go through a 12-month cycle of withholding their seed. Of semen retention. Because the same thing that women do every month, this is why it's so crazy for y'all during this period. It takes us 12 lunar cycles to be able to cultivate that same energy.
Wow.
So I made that decision. And I started to realize that not spilling that energy in those ways was starting to impact my business, was starting to impact my health. I was recycling all those different streams that was scattered and put into the things that I really wanted to manifest. And I now had the energy to actually manifest these things easier than I ever thought was possible.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So that's a great point. So when it comes to hip hop, right?
Yeah.
Our music literally is beating us down in the brain to have sex with multiple women. It's actually acceptable in the homes, even from women and their sons.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the opposite way for women, in as far as the wording. You know, we would be referred to as hoes if we did that. But we know that that's just whatever. Yeah. But
and that's being embraced right now. So
that's true. That's true. So my question is, right, with that going on, is that harming some of our men? And if so, like how and what is some of the best ways that they can do the opposite and help them? Because I know a lot of our artists, like, that's like the thing, like just sex, just most of women dumping them off. It's usually in the music. Like, I've just heard even lyrics like, yeah, I got a new one in a month, or I got a new one next week. And it's just like, dang. Like, so can you just talk on that?
I even put in my promo, like, on this whole album, I'm not gonna fuck your bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, can we hear one song without one of the little homies telling me they gonna fuck my bitch? Like, why is that even entertaining? Like, I don't wanna hear that, bro. You smell me? But, it gets so deep, right? Any man that's been in a relationship with a woman that may not be particularly energetically balanced, you may love this woman, right? You may really wanna do the right thing. You don't wanna step out all this other stuff, right? But it hits a point where we kind of hit a wall. A lot of times we hit a particular wall where we still got love, but that energy, that excitement, that motivation we had initially kind of fades away. And ladies, you recognize this as he don't do the same things he used to do. He don't come through with the flowers. He don't check on you like he used to. The body is so intelligent that it knows that man is wasting too much energy, that it starts to send chemicals into the system where that man will even start to a certain subconscious level, resent the person, the woman that he's giving most, and he don't know what's going on. To him, it's just like, I don't feel the same, bro. Like, you know what I mean? I want to mess with these other ones a little more than I did in the first 6 months. Right. But the body is protecting itself because it knows it's bleeding too much out. This is also was part of what was eating away at my kidney.
Wow.
Eating away at my vision. The energy got to come from somewhere.
Because there's a lot of nutrients that's in our
bro,
semen. A lot.
when you, all right, so let's say we was to eat an apple right now as men, right? The body immediately starts extracting the nutrients, sending it to where it's supposed to go. The last physical layer it goes to before it goes back to pure energy, or if you want to call it spirit, is bone marrow. That's why it's that color.
Right,
you smell me?
Right.
But you're literally, before the apple became the apple, it was on a tree. It was the idea in somebody's head to plant an apple tree, right? It was the energy, the sensation, the experiences they went through to have that idea. So everything to a certain degree starts as just energy, right? So with these programs coming through in our hip hop, it may seem just cool and fun and frivolous. Like, it's not that deep. Docs, people have sex. This is what it is. But it's literally siphoning the energy we need to get the fuck out the hood, to get off the block, to create the business. So it's working on levels way beyond what we are aware of. And then on a deeper level, the Viacoms, the Clear Channels, the Time Warners, the media conglomerates that own the labels, that own the TV stations, they also own the prison industry complex. So if you anywhere in the state that has a private prison, they have in their contract, they need to keep above 90% capacity in the prisons to keep getting those grants and that money coming through. Right. So what's the easiest way to keep these niggas in jail?
Low energy.
Keep them in that system.
So pump. Wow. Yeah. So I know I get to go to the point where you were talking about manifesting the family. So I want to just go back to that.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know, a lot of us, we have families. So
no doubt.
How did that come about? Like, I know you were right there, but then we got off topic.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. We here.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Actually, Shino is one of my oracles, and like even on the album, like the first joint is Oracle Talk. And shout out to Mishi Me. She's a super lit, legendary reggae artist out of Canada. But she represents me coming in to talk to the oracle. You know what I mean? So Shino is one of my oracles. And she actually told me along with another young lady, like maybe a month after that conversation. It was Father's Day, 3 years ago, I guess at this point. And I felt the waves of jealousy coming up. Because I always wanted family. I came up in a 2-family household. My dad was everybody's dad from the hood because nobody else had fathers and stuff like that. Never saw him step out, nothing crazy. So I always wanted to emulate that. I felt like I was getting to the point where I was going to miss my window. So that particular Father's Day, I think 36, 35 years old, I just felt myself getting angry, resentful, jealous, just seeing brothers with their kids online. So I logged off, I confronted that aspect of myself, and I did my best to accept. Source, if this is what you need from me in this life cycle, if I can't have that, cool, right? Wow. Just from me letting go of all that pressure of I want, the very next week, the first oracle told me that she had a message for my unborn children saying that, relax, we on the way.
Wow.
I talked to Shino a couple days after this. She's like, yo, I had a dream about you. And I was supposed to tell you about it, but I forgot. Same thing. A month later, I met Loren.
Wow.
And I still completed my cycle. I still maintained my celibacy. But yeah, about 4 or 5 months later, we got the news that Marty was on the way.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did that energy allow you to let go super easy?
Oh, it wasn't easy. It was snot bubbles. It was ugly. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm glad you were touching on that.
Yeah, like
you like, all right, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Nah, it was definitely especially crazy that day when it all rushed to the surface. Cause like, think about it. I'm 36. I'm meditating all the time. I'm vegan now. Like, my idea of the type of woman I thought I would be with ain't gonna be able to rock with that. Right. So the waves of limitation start to come based off my current wave, and it was just like, nah, I'm not gonna be able to have that. So I had to confront that. That's the thing with like emotion. When you are so dominated by mind, when you feel something and that may be uncomfortable, mind takes you straight to figuring it out, to be able to eject yourself from feeling like that. The first thing you're supposed to do is just feel it. Because the feeling itself has the download, it has the message, it has the wisdom. And if you try to bypass that and let mind figure it out, you're gonna miss the key. So I had to feel that whole day. I mean, as soon as I processed it, it left my system, and then it opened up the portal for me to have that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So, and I know we're in a time frame, so I gotta have you back up here.
Yeah, let's work.
I do have a question, because I know, like, y'all, I love y'all relationship. Like, even from before, like, somebody came, like, y'all were just, like, always hugged up. Just you, it was like, I would just invite y'all to and make food for them. It was just so amazing. I just love their energy.
Right.
And so now I see, a post that has about you guys separating.
Right.
But even in the separation, I'm like, damn, this is beautiful. Like, I'm just, because it was like a post you had, and it was just like, you put the picture up, and you were like, I don't want to mess up any of the wording, but I know it was from what I read, just about like just thanking her for the experience. Right. And being able to just let go. So my question is, like, because I know some of us, we're going through these breakups.
A lot of us.
Like it's hard to let go of that person. But it seems like even when it comes to just people being like mothers and fathers of their children, and it's like either letting go by just forced to letting go because it's like, oh, that person finally got somebody else, so I'm gonna let it go. Or it's like a big trauma thing. Y'all are arguing back and forth. You trying to not hold the kid. But y'all didn't have, like, it seemed like y'all didn't have any of that. So, like, can you express that, like, the separation part, as far as just how you did that? Because that may help somebody else
absolutely.
How y'all did that.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all could, hit me up for couples counseling. I'm sure you'll have all the information and the links and all of that. But yeah, I do couples counseling, one-on-one meditation, all that type of stuff, live stream, so it don't matter if you live in Jersey. But yeah, I mean, it was definitely like painstakingly difficult, like when shit hit the fan. Because think about it, as a man, for us to give that much of our soul to a woman, knowing, our hindrances, our limitations, if we fuck up, she gonna take half. I mean, it's a big leap of faith we gotta take to go there with a woman, right? And having gone 36 years, and I may not have done everything completely effective, but I made sure not to have kids and baby moms all over the place. So I felt like I did it the right way. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was gonna have this for the rest of my life. Having never experienced a wave of fatherhood, of husbandhood. I proposed to her in front of 8,000 people at, Lincoln Park HipHop Festival. People still come up to me on the streets that I don't even know, like, bro, you don't want that proposal. It was crazy.
Yeah, that was beautiful, man. I cried when I saw that. I shed tears.
Yeah, y'all can check that on my Instagram, right? Still up there.
Beautiful.
Facts. So we kind of had that was the highest level of love I ever experienced with a woman. And it's interesting.
She's deep, too.
And she's a lot younger than me. She's 15 years younger than me, bro. I never thought I would deal with a woman. I used to be into the cougars,
hey,
right?
I feel you.
Always was into the older woman. I ain't want nothing to do with nobody younger than me, right? But it's funny how it's funny how life works and how God sets things up when you start to release expectation. So she was exactly what I needed in that phase of my life, and vice versa. I needed to be grounded. I was so floaty into the heavens, like I was ready to go live in an ashram in India. For those who don't know what an ashram is, it's like a place you don't got to pay no bills. You just go meditate. They provide everything for you. So I was about to move to India, bro. Y'all would have never even met me, right? And I remember the day we was in my apartment. I was cooking something. And she used to always like catch me kind of like I'm present, but like somewhere else. And I used to always tell her like, you know, sometimes I just be like between worlds because I know the deeper part of myself. Even as I'm having this conversation, I'm in touch with the deeper layers of myself right now. See what I'm saying? So she caught me in a moment where she knew I was kind of drifting. Even while I'm cutting stuff up, she grabbed me by the face and she just said, yo, you can't go yet. And it like immediately just anchored my spirit. And I didn't know what was to come from that. I didn't know meditation, education, to meet all of y'all do all these amazing things. It just pulled me back down to earth. She also needed to be uprooted from some of her shadow and be thrust into the potential of what I saw in her when I first met her. So we was going in completely opposite directions, but met at the point where we needed each other to catapult ourselves further into the directions we was going. And that comes with a schedule, like all of our relationships do. I thought it would be for the rest of my life, and it ended up being 3 years. But we just are experiencing not separation, but recalibration of our energy in our relationship.
That's deep. I like that.
Yeah. We got a son, and even beyond that, I'm gonna love her and appreciate her for the rest of my life. So even though we still get into it, figuring out this co-parenting journey is just always gonna be a certain level of respect and honoring for the guru she represents in my life. You know what I mean? Yeah. So shout out to you, goddess.
That is amazing.
You be stressing me sometimes, but I love you. You know what I mean? You know the vibes.
Definitely.
I love how you change the perspective, you know, and flip it from a negative to a positive. Because even now I came to you just asking, yo, I had this show, you know, and when I came to you, I'm saying I was nervous.
Right.
And then, you know, after I was giving my explanation,
Right.
you helped me to understand, like, no, well, maybe you could look at it from a different angle.
Right.
What about you had a burst of energy?
Exactly.
How were you able to just get in the flow of being able to just shift the perspective from looking at it from one way where we can look at it as negative to looking at it with more energy and more positivity?
Right. So what we identify as negativity is just what don't feel good.
Okay.
What we identify as positivity is what's pleasurable.
Because it didn't feel good in that moment.
Exactly. It's the same energy. It's just your perception of it causes it to express a different way. Then you hold on to the wave, and then this is nervousness. I don't like doing this. I don't like that food. You know what I mean? And then it creates your reality around all these preferences based on duality. And I started to realize that even what we would call negative, the stuff that don't feel good, it's still love. It's God's tough love. Because as a parent, us being children at a certain point, there was times where your parents had to dig in your shit.
Yep.
They didn't want to have to do that.
Yep.
They knew you wasn't going to be cool with them for the next hour, you ain't going to like them. But they knew in that moment it was even more of a sacrifice because you're not going to like this form of me teaching you, but I know you need this. As above, so below. The same thing is happening to our lives, so I started to develop appreciation. I don't get here without being blind.
Appreciate
I literally said it in my album, had to go blind to see through the storm.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So you start to realize that all of it is part of the perfection of your particular path, and you start to lose attachment to a preference. I'm beyond the language and the spelling of I like. I don't even say I like no more. I don't have preferences. Whatever's in the moment is what is the gift that source is giving to me at that point. So yeah, man, no negativity, no positivity.
Speaking of that, right? I know that I had a counseling session with you before, and a lot of the times you would always ask me to follow the drip. Like,
follow the drip.
Which is like the thought under the thought under the thought under the thought.
It's working out here, y'all. It's working.
You know what I'm saying? So I always catch myself now, like if I'm upset with something, like like if I'm upset, I'm trying to figure out where that first actual thought. So like why I'm upset, and then where did that come from, and then where did that come from versus. So
making me happy right now. I'm about to cry.
So my thing is like so many of us, right? We just react to that first reaction, that first thought. As far as follow the drip, like how can we, think better as humans? Like how can we like change or brighten up our perception? So like I want you to kind of go into what that means, like following the drip. And maybe you could give an example because I got you. People like we usually end up in arguments and just feeling negative about ourselves, and just it's already hard for us or for our culture. Not really. I don't even want to say hard.
Challenging.
I don't want to use that word, but we experiencing being black and elevating. So the person that's just in that negative realm, how can they follow the drip to try to get themselves out of those thoughts?
Yeah, so where that even came from, you know, I'm a man of a certain age. I'm 39 years old out here.
Wow.
Don't even look like it.
39. Yeah, a lot of people don't. I be going to the schools. The teachers be asking me, "Sir, what class are you supposed to be?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm a teacher. Like, relax." But yeah, so I remember the Jerry curl era, right? And everybody had jokes. If I had a Jerry curl right now, I'd be dripping all over this nice couch. My man would be pissed off at me, right?
Glow.
Soul glowed out here in these streets. So yeah, follow the drip. And I Brick City Buddha. I use like the dichotomy of my experiences and just do my best to make everything relatable. So like you said, following the drip underneath the surface of the emotion, thought, or experience and getting the message out of it. And I kind of just came up with an acronym just in my last session called FIEND, right? And think about it, when you attach to something, you kind of addicted to the identification of it. You fiend out, right? So the first thing, feel first. Like I was talking about, just feel it. Whether that's 10 minutes, whether that's the next week, don't feel bad about feeling bad, because that's the thing that happens in the spiritual community too. We want to always be blissed out. That's not what this is about. You know what I mean? If you feel pissed off, you feel like you want to fuck somebody up, hopefully you don't do it, but feel into that first. Then the E is you extract, right? You go to extract, what is this teaching me? In case in point, you ask for an example. In the moments where I would be arguing with Goddess, you know, when we were still together, a lot of the arguments, the shouting matches was really just coming from a force of perspective and an unwillingness to accept that you see this differently than I do, right? We be going into these arguments as if there's a right or there is none. We have two different universes. I remember one day we was going somewhere, coming off on Bloomfield Ave, and I forgot what it was. But she said something to me that in my universe, you ain't say a thing, right? And she was like, yes, I did. And we was kind of going back and forth. So at a certain point, I'm like, look, you know what? In your world, maybe you did. Of course, this pisses her off people because she think I'm being funny. Like, and I'm dead ass serious. Like, yo, in your universe, you may have said it. In my universe, I didn't hear nothing come out your mouth. So really what's happening in these moments is we just forcing our perspective against the other persons, and it's not necessary. It's about understanding what we feel and what we see as well as what they see. You know what I mean? And even if we don't agree at the end of the day, at least we understand what's being said, right? The I is the implementation. The N is the negation of, you extracted your message, now you know how to implement, you negate it, and then the D is you drop it. So that process of fiend is a way to like really just gather all the wisdom from everything that comes, but also be able to release it at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So with that being said, right, is there a way that, you know how people always say,
Spelled
like,
that wrong, so I got to reverse that. It's I and E first, but I'm with you.
Cool.
I got to work on that.
So it's like, a lot of times people will tell you, like, listen to your first thought, listen to God. All you got to do is God to tell you, God to lead the way. How can we do that? Is there a way that we can hear him clearer just through our thoughts? And like, how do we pick up that first thought? Is there a way that we could just be able to listen to that first thought better and hear God better?
Why him?
That's deep.
Him, her, or it, however you perceive it, right? This is a technique y'all could use. So y'all getting freebies right now. So y'all need to thank y'all hosts right now. Because this is stuff people normally got to pay top dollar for. Intuitive walking is one of the techniques that I recommend. We got a few days left, I think, of some nice weather. So hopefully y'all can check this out. I take walks around my hood, right? And when I get to an intersection, there's two things happening. There's a spark, there's a sensation of which way energy wants to go, and then there's my mind trying to figure out which way we're gonna go. So intuitive walking is kind of going beyond mind and paying attention to that spark of, for whatever reason, something's calling you this, and just going with that, right? And as you do so, you start to heighten, develop the strength of your intuition, and you start to realize being and figuring things out all the time, that's it. You're not really making the most effective decision, because mind, every choice you ever make, there are infinite different factors.
Wow. That
you can't perceive all of. A great decision maker may perceive 50 of the infinite, right? So you start to realize, I'm not even really making these decisions. It's intuition guiding me this way. So the more you can tap into your intuition, your feminine divine energy, that's why I asked you why him, the more effectively your life will play out. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we gotta we gotta have you back.
Yeah, let's work. Part 2.
Because we didn't even touch on feminine
Part
and
2.
masculine energy,
Yeah.
and it just even more into the hip hop and the aspect
Yeah, no
that you
doubt.
play in that.
No doubt.
But yeah, so I just want to thank you for having
Thank you.
on
Thank
here.
you.
Thank
We
you.
really appreciate you. I appreciate you for what you do for our
Yeah,
communities.
likewise. Proud of y'all.
Thank you.
Gang, gang. Gang, gang.
And before you go, can you give your shout outs and where everybody can find you?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Like that?
So yeah, y'all can hit me up. My meditation counseling website is Brick City Buddha. That's BRICKCITI BUDDHA. BrickCityBuddha.com. You can hit me up for counseling, meditation, events, lectures, all of that. And then my music side, DoxDiggla.com, DOXDIGGLA. Music, merch, videos, a bunch of stuff you probably missed because you ain't realize I'm one of the greatest out here. So go hit me up. Get There Is No Spoon free on my website right now on all platforms. So we lit.
Please check it out.
Thank you for checking out
Yes.
the Health and Hip Hop Podcast Show with your girl Health is Key.
And Composer Brown.
Hey.
Yeah. Tune in next time. Let's get it.
Gang, gang.